So the last time we did this, we were in the beautiful northwest of Scotland, and of course it's Colin's patch. I felt it was time to see if we could anglify him in some way. I don't think he's ever been south of Berwick before, so where could be nicer than Northumberland?
Well, I'm looking forward, Joe, to the anglification experience. But I've never seen this coastline before, and from just the early views I've seen, it looks quite remarkable. Castles, beaches, I think will offer a lot of opportunity for photographs.
The castles here are a legacy of the defensive role that this part of the world played, of course mostly defending the world against the Scots. That seems to be quite appropriate to bring Colin down here.
This is very different for me because I'm used to working on the west coast of Scotland. I'm obviously going to learn from Joe just how to deal with the light at dusk and dawn here.
We'll find it good fun over the next few days.
And I've heard a little rumour, Joe, that you're going to show us the nightlife in Northumberland.
Well, it has been mentioned, so let's see how it goes.
I look forward to that.
The thing about Northumberland, there aren't any mountains here. Everything's very flat and open, and the coast in particular is just an amazing place. The skyscapes here are just fantastic.
The morning's looking pretty good right now. I think there's a strong possibility we might get a great sunrise.
It's looking promising.
And this, Joe, is all basalt, is it?
It is, yeah, volcanic rock. Divided by these sandy areas. Can be really good for photography, especially as the tide's sort of rolling in and then rolling back.
What's that? That looks to me like a goat or a stag up here.
Yeah, somebody's painted it on the rock side, and that's right. It is indeed a stag.
You can see this columnar basalt here.
Exactly, it's volcanic rock that's been spewed out of an eruption probably 60 million years ago. I'm not an expert in geology.
I think you're pretty good in geology, Joe.
It's amazing, isn't it, though, our islands, the amount of variety is just fantastic, and that really helps.
Well, I think certainly in Scotland, you know, for such a relatively small country, the diversity of rock types that you find.
Talking of Scotland, it's not very often you head south of the border, is it?
Well, no, I've never been in England before.
As we look around, we start to look back.
Oh, there's a castle. that's a bonus.
Yeah, that castle is Bamburgh, and it is one of the most ancient fortified sites in the UK. There's been fortification there for 1600 years. And the core of the castle that you can see today was built in around 1070, 1080. So
it's an impressive looking castle.
Oh, it is. It's enormous.
So Joe, how many times have you been in this location?
I couldn't tell you, it's dozens, it really is, dozens of times.
Well, as you know, it's my first time here, and it's quite remarkable. Quite fussy photographically. You've really got to work for a composition here.
That's true. This combination of the very dark basalt and the bright sand, and then the seaweed, a lot of complexity to it. But having said that, there's some lovely shapes and structures. And then it's incredibly variable. We've got that full sunlight at the moment, which is making it impossible to shoot into.
Yep.
But then with these clouds, very soon it'll be gone again. But one thing, Colin, sorry, I was just going to say is that the tide is a big factor here. And so any given morning, the tide's obviously different, the weather and so on. There's so many different variables.
But I think this is a good spot because we've got away from this black stone and we've got elevated values in the sand. It's a much lighter an area foreground to the picture. So I think we've chosen well here.
Yeah, I think it is a good spot. And I mean, it's incredible how strong the sun is now. You think for a couple of minutes ago we were shooting and it's quite soft light shooting into it. And again, and if we look behind us now, it's just incredible. The storm light.
Can we move the castle?
Yeah, put it over there. It'd be really
It'd be
good.
Stunning, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Look at that sky.
Yeah, phenomenal.
You've got that yellowy light and the blue behind, just fantastic.
Yeah, it really is an amazing spot. I've managed to shoot in the past occasionally being able to pick out these, you see the black basalt, like miniature cliffs and glinting golden light. So it has lots of possibilities. And
obviously in the summer, the sun's going to be rising out here, so you're going to get far more side lighting.
So, yeah, exactly. So, in this part of the UK and further north in Scotland, of course, the sun, as you know, it rises in the northeast in the summer, whereas it's in the southeast at this time of year.
But so great light.
Oh yeah, fantastic. And there's so many different characteristics and moods. So although, people come here because of the castle, but actually it's the whole coastal environment that is what makes it
fantastic.
Special.
Well, we're just about to lose that sun again. It's going to rise into the canopy of cloud now, and hopefully it'll allow us to shoot again.
Look at that. That's amazing. The waves with the breeze just blowing the spindrift back off, and it's just amazing in that setting sun.
It's remarkable.
Yeah, beautiful. There was a fantastic group of knot, little seabirds.
Yep.
I think they're seabirds, aren't they?
Yeah.
And they maybe
waders.
Waders. There you go. You know much more about birds than me.
Well, I wouldn't bet on it.
No, it was lovely to see. And we've had oyster catchers here this morning as well, guillemots, I think.
I mean, there's no doubt that birds just enrich the whole experience of being outdoors.
They do.
And, earlier in my career, I decided that as much as I love birds, that I was very happy just to experience them as part of the landscape. For me, they're just another element, another tier within the landscape. And I know many people are interested in photographing them, but I always felt that I could say more about the natural world through the medium of landscape photography than through photographing birds themselves.
Yeah, that's such an interesting kind of discussion for photographers, I think, is how much of it is about animals and birds, wildlife, and how much is about the landscape itself, the habitat that supports them. And of course, both things are equally important, really.
They are.
But the way that I think, I'm too slow. I can't do wildlife photography. I've tried it once or twice, but I love being able to slow down, use the tripod, and just feel immersed in the landscape itself. And then, as you say, the wildlife, it's all.
I think it's got to speak to you. The landscape's got to speak to you at some level. You've got to connect with it really, and then subtract. It's easier said than done, as we both know.
Yeah, it is, exactly. It's funny to think that this scene here. You can imagine that castle being, when it was built 1,000 years ago, that probably didn't look that much different, apart from the fact that there's a fair number of local dog walkers here, which there probably weren't 1,000 years ago. But no, it hasn't changed that much in all that time.
Remarkable.
So I've been shooting quite wide with a 24mm prime and using some of these, a little bit of the edge of the basalt and the reflected light in there, and And then the sand ripples are really, really good. With that glinting sunlight in, the textures appear really well. How about you?
Well, I was doing something very similar, as you know, Joe, but you know what I really liked earlier on was just some of the colours and the tonal values that were beginning to develop in the clouds, and some of it was reflected in the water. Unfortunately, it was just a bit lively at the surface though, and we weren't really picking up the reflection, but I think it was a good choice here. You know, we've got the separation from the rocks and a good lead into the castle itself.
It's amazing how just a very small amount of additional height can help, isn't it?
Very much. I mean, you know, when we were down there, the elements lined up, whereas just that few feet above it's given us that overview, and we can see on top of the water surface and the sand.
Yeah, there's a nice feeling of flow from here, and it's both a mixture of the shape of the foreground, but also the texture of the ripples and the way that they're patterned in relation to the castle and the landscape in the distance. So yeah, I think it's a successful position. I must say, you know, all the times I come here, and of course I don't come here all the time, but all the times I've been here, I've always seemed to find a different spot to work in, and this was new for me this morning.
Well, I think you know what determines when you come to places, you know, unless you're running tours or workshops here, is really the position of the sun. I mean, you know, is it sunrise or is it sunset? The photograph that you want to take will obviously dictate that, but it's at what time of the year you're going to come here, and obviously you know this coast well, and the summer months, May or mid-May or June, I'm sure is going to give you the optimal light, but it's not going to be as low as it is at the moment. You know, that low arc of the sun, which is you know, the autumn, October in particular, October, November, the sun's in a great place, isn't it? Long shadows and
you can work through the day very often because it never gets up that high, which really helps. So yeah, it's true in the summer months particularly. Boy, there's at least 6 or 7 hours in the middle of the day when you rarely can do anything.
And that magic hour, it doesn't last very long. It doesn't last an hour. The sun comes up and there's seldom very much colour. You know, it's just such a fast ascension, and because the sun's on such a high arc. But we did what we could.
Yeah, I'm happy.
Yeah, indeed.
So Colin, I reckon that the sun's pretty much done its thing now for us, and it might be just rather packed down, and yeah?
Yeah, I think we've done it.
And I've got a few other places I'd like to show you on this bit of coast as well.
Look forward to that. It's a stunning location, Joe. Where exactly is the river here?
Well, there are 2 rivers actually that come out into this bay. It's called Budle Bay. And they form this huge expanse of sand. It's a mixture of sedimentary mud that comes down, and then gradually it's more and more sandy here, and it's a great spot for wading birds. And in the far distance we can see Holy Island. And this is, Budle Point is the name of the spot we're standing on. Poetically, I think of it as the point of light because you're just surrounded by sky.
It is a fantastic location here. This elevation gives you the opportunity to shoot across something that's essentially flat, which is always difficult because you know, if you're down there, there's not really very much relief, not very many edges. And I think the challenge here is to try and make order from chaos, find find some lines that constitute a composition, because it's not an obvious, easy photographic location.
Well, I always say that if landscape photography were easy, everyone would do it, right? So thank goodness it isn't. But yeah, you're right. It is. That elevation does open up. It's almost like the beginnings of aerial photography.
Yeah.
And the shape of the river, the estuary, that wonderful serpentine line that runs round and into the sea, and then the sea opens up round to our right as well. And of course, any day it's always different with the sky. What is really special about it is the dune system itself, the marram grass, which, you know, we walked over, didn't we, on that ridge. It's absolutely lovely. It falls away both sides.
Fantastic.
And, yeah, it's a wonderful, wonderful spot.
It's just such an airy feeling up here. It's, you know, great for, you know, the mental health. You know, it just
exactly.
It just lifts you.
Everything's just open, and from a photographic point of view, what makes it a particularly fascinating place to be is that, you know, where are we now? Mid-November. We can see the sun setting over the Cheviot, I think it is, in the far distance. Like and you can imagine it in the summer, it sets over Holy Island. And in the summer morning, it rises literally opposite to where the sun is now. In a winter morning like here, it would be behind the dune. But it's just so open, and you can shoot sunrise, sunset, middle of the day if the light's good. Just a brilliant spot.
But these positions of the sun, as you know, are crucial to understanding how the light is going to affect the land. And there'll be times here, at different times of the year, like everywhere else, where you want to specifically be here because the sun's at a particular point at sunrise. So that may be May or June, or you know, it could be September or August. But there'll be a time, if you want a specific picture, to come to this spot when the sun's in that position.
Side lighting particularly is what we're often looking for. But having said that, with this type of environment, you can also shoot into the light if you've got big clouds and you got broken skies. So yeah, there are a lot of different kinds of opportunities here.
What I think we really need is, you know, a herd of wildebeest running through that with a lion in pursuit.
Well, I was thinking of crocodiles, but anyway, yeah.
So I see we've both decided on a telephoto composition. What lens is that you've got, Joe?
So this is the new Sigma 70-200 f2.8, brand new out of the box, looking good too, I must say.
It looks very compact, and that's going to be a great tool that for landscape photography. I think 70-200 just covers most of the focal lengths that landscape photographers really need.
It does at the telephoto end, absolutely.
I've got the 104 here, which, you know, if you need a bit more reach, the 400mm lens good. You know, if you take the occasional shot of wildlife, or you've got the reach there with the 400. Personally, I prefer the 70-200. Yeah, if there's only one, you've got it.
At the moment, yeah, absolutely. I'm sure it's going to be a popular lens though.
Well, that sun seems to be struggling through the cloud there.
I'm actually thinking, you know what, Colin, I might just have a look at it and see what the flare performance of this lens is like.
Right.
And you know what? Pretty fine.
Let's have a look.
Check it out.
God, that is amazing.
So, yeah.
That is amazing. There's just
nothing. It's just glowing.
Not blown anywhere.
There's no blown, and then there's no artifacts.
But I mean, that just the finish in this lens is fantastic.
It's mine. You can't have it.
I have to get a shot tomorrow. Well, it's looking like the fat lady has sung. If you can say that anymore.
Yeah. I think we've had our time here. It doesn't look like there's enough cloud for there to be anything going to happen overhead, and there's too much cloud in the west, which means that's going to snuff out what remains of any lake light. So yeah, I think we've had it.
Yeah, back for tea and medals.
Sounds good.
That's all for episode 1, but you can follow Colin and Joe to Dunstanburgh Castle as they explore more of the Northumberland coast in episode 2.